When you truly understand what it means for a man to make a woman feel emotionally safe, you begin to realize why that kind of man becomes unforgettable. And I want you to really hear this, because so many people underestimate the power of emotional safety in love. When a woman feels safe with a man, her entire nervous system relaxes, her guard drops, her fears soften, and she allows herself to show sides of her heart that she hides from the rest of the world. Emotional safety is not a small thing. It is not a bonus. It is not something nice to have. It is the foundation that allows intimacy, trust, vulnerability, and connection to grow. And the moment a man offers this to a woman, the moment he creates an environment where she feels protected emotionally instead of threatened or judged, something inside her responds in a way she cannot control. She doesn't fall in love because he is perfect. She falls in love because she feels peaceful in his presence. And peace is one of the rarest emotions a woman experiences in relationships. You listening right now know exactly how heavy the world can feel at times. You know what it's like to walk through life carrying responsibilities, memories, wounds, expectations, and pressure that no one else can see. And when someone enters your life who does not add to that weight, who instead gives you a moment of relief, a moment of softness, a moment of understanding, you feel a shift in your heart that is hard to explain. Emotional safety is that moment when you don't feel the need to over-explain yourself. It is that moment when you don't feel the pressure to pretend. It is that moment when you can finally exhale because you know you are not being analyzed, judged, or compared. And when a man becomes that space for a woman, he becomes unforgettable because he gives her something the world rarely gives her. A place where she can rest her emotions without fear. Think about how many women have learned to hide their feelings just to survive relationships. How many have learned to stay quiet to avoid arguments? How many have learned to pretend to be okay because opening up only led to disappointment, dismissal, or emotional abandonment? So when she meets a man who listens with patience instead of irritation, who responds with clarity instead of confusion, who holds space for her emotions instead of running from them, it changes how she sees him entirely. He becomes safe not because of what he says once, but because of how he consistently shows up. He becomes safe because he is not unpredictable. He becomes safe because he does not punish her for being human. And when a woman finally feels this level of safety, she begins to let her heart unfold in ways she never allowed before. A man who makes a woman feel emotionally safe becomes unforgettable because he sees her, truly sees her. Not the version she shows to the world, not the strong, self-reliant mask she wears, but the real her, the soft her, the scared her, the sensitive her, the hopeful her. He sees the parts she hides, not because she wants to, but because the world taught her to. And instead of telling her to toughen up or get over it or calm down, he meets her with empathy. He tells her through his actions, "You don't have to be perfect here. You don't have to pretend here. I'm not going anywhere." And do you know how powerful that is for a woman who has spent years protecting herself from heartbreak? It is life-changing. And here's something even more profound. When a woman feels emotionally safe, she becomes the best version of herself. She becomes more loving, more giving, more playful, more open, and more confident. Not because he fixed her, but because he created the soil in which her heart could bloom. Safety allows love to flourish naturally. It allows her to trust her own feelings without second guessing whether she is too much or too needy. It allows her to build a future with him without fear that he will suddenly become distant or indifferent. Emotional safety is what allows her to relax into love instead of fighting through it. When a man offers that, he becomes unforgettable, not because he is extraordinary, but because he is consistent, stable, and emotionally mature. He becomes unforgettable because he doesn't tear her down. He builds her up. He doesn't make her doubt her worth. He reminds her of it. He doesn't break her trust. He protects it. And the more she experiences this, the more she realizes that this type of man is rare. Not rare because men cannot be this way, but rare because many have never learned the power of emotional presence. So when you hear that a man who makes a woman feel emotionally safe becomes unforgettable, understand why. Because he touches her heart where it is wounded. He holds her emotions where they are fragile. He nurtures her hope where it was fading. And he gives her something she wanted all along but didn't always know how to ask for, the freedom to be herself without fear. And when she finds that, she does not forget it, because safety is not just a feeling, it is a form of love. It is a kind of intimacy deeper than touch, deeper than words, and deeper than passion. Safety is the love her soul recognizes as home. When you truly understand why consistency matters more than grand gestures, you begin to see relationships differently. And I want you to feel this deeply, because so many people confuse excitement with effort, intensity with commitment, and attention with genuine care. A man who is serious about you does not prove himself through random moments of sweetness or occasional bursts of romance. He shows it through the quiet, repeated choices he makes over time. The choices that reveal his priorities far more loudly than anything he could ever say. Consistency is the language of commitment, and once you learn to recognize it, you stop falling for potential and start trusting patterns. You've met people before who came into your life like a storm, full of intensity, charm, and promises, and for a moment it felt real. But storms don't stay. They impress you with noise, not stability. And when the noise fades, they disappear. Consistency is the opposite. It is not loud. It is not dramatic. It is not intoxicating in the beginning. It feels steady, almost quiet, but that quiet is where real love grows. And when a man is genuinely invested in you, he does not make you guess. He makes you feel secure because his actions align with his words, not just once, but constantly. Consistency is not about perfection. It's about showing up in ways that tell you, you matter. I'm here. I mean what I say. It's in the good morning text he sends not to impress you, but because caring for you has become part of his day. It's in the way he keeps his promises, even small ones, because he understands your trust is precious. It's in his effort to communicate even when he's tired or busy, not because he has to, but because he wants to stay connected. These small, repeated behaviors are the blueprint of emotional reliability, and emotional reliability is what makes a woman feel safe enough to love. And I want you to hear this clearly. When a man is inconsistent, it is not because you are not enough. It is because he is not ready, not stable, or not choosing you with the level of intention you deserve. Inconsistency creates confusion, anxiety, and emotional instability. And you know that feeling all too well, the feeling of waiting for a reply, the feeling of reading into mixed signals, the feeling of constantly questioning what he feels because his actions change with the weather. That is not love. That is emotional chaos wrapped in charm. A man who is consistent gives you clarity, not confusion. When someone wants you, you feel it in the steadiness of his behavior. He doesn't vanish, then reappear with excuses. He doesn't act interested today and indifferent tomorrow. He doesn't say he cares, but behaves like you're an option. Consistency is him proving through time that he is a man you can trust with your heart, and trust grows from what a person does repeatedly, not occasionally. And here is the truth most people avoid. Consistency requires emotional discipline. It requires maturity. It requires a man to put effort over impulse, commitment over convenience, communication over avoidance. Inconsistent men chase what feels good in the moment. Consistent men build what matters in the long run. When a man chooses consistency with you, he is telling you that he is not here for entertainment. He is here to create something stable, something real, something that lasts. Think about how your body reacts to inconsistency. Your mind overthinks. Your heart feels unsettled. Your emotions ride a roller coaster you never asked to get on. But when you experience consistency, everything inside you softens. Your guard comes down. Your trust grows naturally. You no longer feel the need to analyze every message or second guess his intentions. You are finally able to breathe because you know where you stand. That emotional peace is priceless. Consistency gives you that peace. And here's the beauty of it. Consistency makes love easier, not because love is effortless, but because effort stops feeling like a battle. When someone shows up with reliability, you no longer waste your energy trying to decode their actions. You can finally focus on connection instead of confusion. You can build instead of doubt. You can receive instead of chase. A man who is consistent becomes unforgettable because he becomes the anchor in a world full of unstable connections. He becomes the one who keeps showing up when others would disappear. He becomes the one who treats your heart with respect instead of carelessness. And once you experience that kind of consistency, you will never again settle for someone who only gives you fragments of effort. So understand this deeply. The difference between a man who is serious and a man who is uncertain is not in what he says, it is in what he repeats. It is in what he prioritizes when it is not convenient. It is in how he behaves when no one is watching. It is in the consistency that slowly earns your trust, your comfort, and your heart. And when you recognize that, you stop chasing mixed signals and start choosing stable souls. Because the man who truly wants you won't make you wonder. He'll make you feel chosen every single day, not through intensity, but through consistency. When you begin to understand how emotional presence works, you realize it is one of the strongest indicators of genuine interest. And I want you to hear this with complete clarity because it explains so much of what you've been feeling, questioning, and hoping for. Emotional presence is not about a man saying he cares. It is about how he shows up in the moments when connection matters most. It is about the way he listens, the way he pays attention, the way he remembers small details, the way he makes you feel seen even without grand gestures, and the way he responds to your emotions instead of dismissing them. When a man is emotionally present, you feel it in your body, in your heart, and in the quiet spaces that most people overlook. Think for a moment about the times you've been with someone who was physically with you, but emotionally somewhere else. Their eyes drifted. Their attention faded. Their responses felt empty. They nodded without really hearing you. They were there, but not truly there. That feeling leaves you invisible, disconnected, and undervalued. Emotional presence is the opposite. It is the experience of being fully received. When a man shows emotional presence, he is not just hearing your words, he is absorbing their meaning. He isn't just looking at you, he is seeing you. He isn't just waiting for his turn to talk. He is trying to understand the world through your perspective. Emotional presence is powerful because it is rare. We live in a world overloaded with distraction, where people are so caught up in their phones, their stress, their ego, their insecurities, or their desire to impress, that genuine presence has become almost unusual. So when a man offers it, not occasionally but consistently, it stands out in a way that creates deep emotional impact. It stays with you. It builds trust. It creates emotional safety. And emotional safety is what allows love to grow. When a man is emotionally present with you, he responds to the subtle things, the things you don't even say out loud. He notices when your tone softens or tightens. He pays attention when something feels off. He remembers what you said last week because he wasn't just listening, he was valuing. He shows up not only when the mood is light and easy, but especially when you're overwhelmed, disappointed, or conflicted. Emotional presence is his way of saying, your heart matters here. And when you feel that, your mind relaxes, your guard lowers, and you begin to trust more deeply than you expected. And I want you to understand this part because it's crucial. Emotional presence cannot be faked for long. A man can pretend interest for a moment. He can offer attention when he wants something. He can show charm when he is trying to impress you. But true emotional presence is revealed in the long run, in everyday interactions, in the quiet moments, in the consistency of his engagement. It is revealed in his willingness to check in when you've had a hard day, his curiosity about your dreams, his encouragement when you doubt yourself, and the respect he shows when you express your needs or boundaries. Emotional presence is also about availability, not just proximity. A man can be near you and still be emotionally absent, and a man who is emotionally present can make you feel supported even from a distance. It is in the tone of his voice, the effort he makes to understand, the patience he shows when you need to talk through something, the kindness he brings into your conversations, and the sincerity behind his words. Emotional presence is the foundation of emotional intimacy, and without emotional intimacy, physical attraction or compatibility cannot carry a relationship. When a man is emotionally present, he creates a space where your emotions are not a burden, but a doorway to connection. You don't have to shrink yourself. You don't have to pretend you're fine when you're not. You don't have to guess whether he cares. You feel it through the way he engages with your feelings. He doesn't rush you. He doesn't shut down. He doesn't get defensive every time you express a concern. Instead, he leans in. He listens. He seeks clarity. He takes responsibility. He values the emotional landscape of your relationship instead of avoiding it. Emotional presence also reveals his level of maturity. Men who lack emotional maturity avoid uncomfortable conversations, shut down when confronted with vulnerability, or distract themselves instead of connecting. But a man who is emotionally present does the opposite. He stands still with your emotions, even when they are messy or complex. He doesn't run from feelings, he responds to them. He doesn't minimize your experience, he respects it. He doesn't get overwhelmed by your vulnerability, he honors it. And this kind of presence is unforgettable. You remember the man who held space for you when you weren't at your strongest. You remember the man who listened deeply when you were afraid no one understood. You remember the man who made you feel valued without needing you to earn it. Emotional presence leaves an imprint because it reaches the parts of you that have been ignored in past relationships. Not every man can offer this. Some lack the self-awareness. Some lack the capacity. Some lack the intention. Emotional presence requires a man to be grounded, self-reflective, empathetic, and genuinely invested. It requires a level of emotional intelligence that many people never develop. And once you experience it, you will never again tolerate someone who gives you emotional crumbs, someone who expects loyalty without offering connection, someone who takes your presence for granted while withholding his own. So when you recognize a man who shows emotional presence, understand that this is not a small thing. This is not something you overlook. This is not something you downplay. This is one of the truest indicators that he is emotionally invested, deeply interested, and genuinely committed to building something meaningful with you. Because a man who is emotionally present is saying, through every moment of genuine attention, that your heart is a priority and your feelings are safe with him. When you begin to understand the fourth keynote, something inside you shifts because you realize that emotional stability is not just a trait, it is a shelter. And every person in this room knows what it feels like to live without that shelter. You know how it feels to walk on eggshells around someone's moods, to wonder if the person you care about will be warm today or cold tomorrow, to feel like their emotional weather controls your entire day. But the moment you encounter someone whose presence calms you instead of confusing you, whose reactions ground you instead of shaking you, your entire nervous system recognizes it as safety, and that safety becomes unforgettable. Emotional stability is not the absence of emotion, it is the ability to feel without exploding, to care without controlling, to respond without attacking, to stay present without shutting down. When someone offers you that level of steadiness, it feels like finally being able to breathe after holding your breath for years. There is a special kind of strength in a person who can witness your frustration, your sadness, or your fear, and not make it about themselves. It is the strength of someone who listens without waiting to defend, who asks questions instead of assuming, who slows down instead of escalating. Emotional stability looks like a pause, a breath, a moment of awareness in the middle of conflict. It looks like someone saying, "I want to understand you," instead of someone trying to win. It feels like standing with both feet planted on solid ground. When you are around someone like that, you feel your shoulders drop, your heart rate steady, your voice become calmer, because their calm makes room for yours. And the truth that many people avoid is this one simple truth, which is that emotional stability is learned, not inherited. It comes from self-awareness, from discipline, from owning your triggers, from working through your past instead of using it as a weapon. It comes from choosing peace over ego, responsibility over blame, presence over pride. When you think about emotional stability, it may sound like a quiet trait, something subtle, something in the background. But let me tell you this, it is the loudest thing people feel when they are around you. People remember how you made them feel far more than what you said. And if you make someone feel safe when they are falling apart, seen when they are confused, supported when they are overwhelmed, you become a person whose presence feels like a sanctuary. Emotional stability is not perfection, it is regulation. It is saying, I am frustrated, but I will stay here. It is saying, I am hurt, but I will not punish you. It is saying, I need a moment, but I am not leaving. It is choosing to express instead of explode. It is choosing dialogue over distance. It is choosing intention over impulse. And let's be honest, everyone in this room has met someone unstable. Someone whose reactions felt like walking into a storm you didn't predict. Someone whose words cut deeper because they were spoken without thought. Someone whose emotions swung so fast you lost yourself trying to keep up. That kind of instability drains you, confuses you, exhausts you, and quietly destroys your sense of being safe. Emotional stability does the opposite. It rebuilds you. It reminds you that connection is supposed to feel like grounding, not chaos, like clarity, not confusion. You begin to trust again because the person in front of you gives you no reason to fear them. They teach you that conflict can be navigated instead of avoided, that emotions can be shared instead of suppressed, that love can be calm instead of dramatic. What makes emotional stability so powerful is that it creates a space where two people can grow together without the fear of missteps turning into battles. It allows vulnerability to exist without punishment. It allows honesty to come without fear. It allows apologies to mean something and forgiveness to actually heal. Emotional stability turns a relationship into a partnership, conversations into progress, disagreements into understanding. It transforms love from something fragile into something durable. When someone has mastered themselves, they naturally become someone others want to lean on. They become someone others feel drawn to, someone who radiates peace instead of pressure. And the most beautiful part of emotional stability is that it is contagious. When someone is calm, you become calmer. When someone communicates with clarity, you begin communicating with clarity. When someone takes responsibility for their feelings instead of blaming you for them, you begin doing the same. Emotional stability elevates not just the person who has it, but everyone connected to them. So if you want to become the kind of person who is truly desired, truly respected, truly valued, start here. Start with your inner world. Start with your responses. Start with your patterns. Start with understanding your emotions instead of unleashing them. Start with being the anchor instead of the wave. Because the truth is, emotional stability is not just attractive, it is transformative, it is rare. And it is something that makes people feel safe in a world where safety is hard to find. And when you can give someone that feeling, you become unforgettable in the most powerful way. There comes a moment in every person's life when they realize that consistency is not boring, it is not predictable, it is not something to overlook or take for granted. It is one of the purest forms of love and one of the deepest forms of safety. And when you understand this, you begin to see people differently. You stop being impressed by intensity and start being moved by reliability. You stop being drawn to someone who shows up with passion one day and disappears the next, and you start valuing the one who shows up every day in ways that actually matter. Consistency speaks a language louder than words, because anyone can say they care, anyone can make promises, anyone can get emotional for a moment, but not everyone can show up again and again, even on the days when life is heavy, even when things aren't perfect, even when the spark isn't dramatic or the feelings aren't convenient. Consistency is what separates temporary interest from real intention. And when a person chooses consistency, they are telling you without speaking, you matter, your peace matters, this connection matters. Think about how many times inconsistency has shaken you. How many times someone's mixed signals drained your confidence. How many times their hot and cold behavior left you questioning yourself. How many times their unpredictability made you feel like you were not enough. Inconsistency is emotional chaos. It keeps you guessing, doubting, and overthinking because you never know which version of them you will meet. But when someone is consistent, you stop living in fear, you stop trying to decode their behavior, you stop searching for hidden meanings. A consistent person brings stability into your world just by showing up in the same honest way every time, and that steadiness becomes a kind of emotional oxygen you didn't realize you were missing. Consistency shows up in small ways, not grand gestures. It is the message that arrives when they said it would, the effort that doesn't disappear after getting your attention, the tone that doesn't change when you set boundaries. It is the simple act of remembering what matters to you, the follow through on their words, the reliability that feels like a promise they keep proving every day. When someone is consistent, you don't have to beg for reassurance. You don't have to wonder if you are a priority. You don't have to fear that their affection will vanish without warning. Their actions align with their words, and their behavior aligns with their character. And that alignment creates trust. Trust grows slowly, but inconsistency destroys it instantly. Consistency, however, rebuilds what others have broken, not through perfection, but through persistence. Consistency requires discipline because it is not powered by emotion alone. Anyone can be good when they feel good, but consistency shows who someone really is when they are tired, stressed, insecure, or annoyed. It reveals whether their care for you is conditional or rooted. A person who truly chooses you does not let their bad moods erase their respect, their frustrations erase their affection, or their stress erase their reliability. Consistency is the behavior of someone who has decided to be responsible with your heart, someone who understands that relationships cannot survive on occasional effort. They know that connection is built by daily choices, not occasional emotions. Many people chase butterflies, but stability is what makes love last. Passion is beautiful, chemistry is exciting, but passion without consistency leaves you starving, and chemistry without reliability leaves you hurting. The strongest relationships are not built on fireworks. They are built on a steady flame that doesn't burn out when life gets real. Consistent people love differently. They communicate clearly. They show their intentions through effort, not confusion. They don't disappear when things are difficult. They don't keep you guessing. They don't make you compete with their distractions. They don't treat you like a temporary thrill. They make space for you. They prioritize you. They treat you with the same energy on Mondays that they do on Fridays. Their consistency makes you feel chosen every day, not just on days that suit them. And let me tell you something important. Consistency is attractive because it is rare. It is rare because it requires maturity. It requires honesty. It requires someone to look beyond their momentary feelings and honor their long-term values. It requires them to choose patience instead of impulsiveness, communication instead of avoidance, loyalty instead of convenience. When someone brings that level of responsibility into your life, you feel safe, you feel respected, you feel emotionally nourished, because their consistency allows you to relax into the relationship instead of guarding yourself from it. So when you think about what truly makes someone desirable, remember this: consistency is the quiet behavior that speaks the loudest. It is the rhythm that creates emotional security, the behavior that builds trust, the foundation that allows two people to grow without fear. A consistent person doesn't just love you, they protect the space where love can survive. They make you feel like you are not an option, but a priority, not a temporary moment, but a meaningful choice. And when you experience that kind of consistency, it becomes one of the most beautiful, grounding, and unforgettable feelings you will ever know. There comes a point in every woman's life when she realizes that the kind of love she truly desires is not loud, dramatic, unpredictable, or inconsistent. It is calm, steady, committed, and intentional. And you begin to understand that real love is not something you chase. It is something you recognize in the quiet reliability of a man who chooses you every day. A man who makes you feel safe does not do it accidentally. He does it through the small, repeated behaviors that tell your soul, you don't have to fight to be valued here. And when you start paying attention to those behaviors, you realize that safety is the real currency of love. Because without emotional safety, nothing else can grow, nothing else can deepen, and nothing else can last. When a man creates safety, he is not just being kind, he is being intentional, because emotional safety is not built through grand gestures. It is built through consistency, honesty, and patience. It is built through the way he listens without turning your fears into inconveniences, the way he stays present even when emotions feel heavy, the way he refuses to weaponize your vulnerability, and the way he protects your heart even in moments when you are not at your strongest. When a man does that, he shows you that love does not have to be a battlefield. It does not have to be full of guessing games. It does not have to feel like you are constantly auditioning for a role in his life. Safety is created through the space he gives you to express yourself without punishment, without mockery, without distance, and that space becomes the ground where trust begins to breathe again. Think about how many women have had their hearts shaped by inconsistency. How many have learned to expect abandonment? How many have become experts at pretending things do not hurt? How many have learned to hide their truth because the wrong men turned their honesty into ammunition? When you've experienced that kind of emotional volatility, safety feels foreign, almost suspicious, because you are used to the kind of love that keeps you on edge. But when a man offers you safety, not as a performance, but as a natural extension of who he is, it is almost disarming. You realize that love can feel easy, that communication can feel natural, that effort can be simple and constant, and that you never have to lower your standards again just to keep someone interested. His behavior begins to soften the parts of you that life has made hard. A man who makes you feel safe communicates clearly, not because he is perfect, but because he cares about how his actions make you feel. He tells you where he stands because he respects your peace. He doesn't disappear to prove a point or punish you with silence. He doesn't pull you close one day and push you away the next. Safety is created in the way he keeps his word even in the smallest things, because the smallest things create the biggest trust. It's the text he sends when he says he'll send it, the promise he keeps even when it's inconvenient, the tone he maintains even when he's frustrated, the way he makes mistakes but corrects them instead of excusing them. Safety is not the absence of flaws, it is the presence of accountability. And you deserve that kind of accountability. You deserve someone who sees the weight you carry and chooses to lighten it rather than add to it. Someone who understands that love is not about intensity, but about endurance, not about fireworks, but about foundation, not about how passionately he enters your life, but how gently he stays. Safety is not measured by how loudly he says he loves you, but by how protectively he